Your backpack is arguably your most important piece of gear when it comes to backpacking. I mean, it's called backpacking, for crying out loud. But if you're just getting started out, or maybe you're like me and planning your first long distance thru hike, then that part of the gear shopping process is probably the most difficult. So in order to save you some of the headache that I went through, in this video, I'm sharing my current top picks for the best women's ultralight and lightweight backpacking packs right now. I'll be going over the pros and cons of each of these three packs: the Osprey Eja, the ULA Circuit, and the Durston Kakwa, as well as sharing who I think might best benefit from each one of these different backpacking packs, and revealing which of these packs I'll be taking on my own thru hike of the PCT this spring. If you're interested in learning more about any of these packs, I've included links for each of them in the description below. I'm also including a link to my beginner-friendly backpacking gear list that you can download from my website. Before we jump into these specific packs, I just want to talk for a second about a few things that are important to know about shopping for a backpacking pack, especially if it's your first time. First of all, there is no perfect backpacking pack. There is only a pack that is perfect for your body, your gear, and your hiking style. And that's all to say, just because you see a lot of people wearing one specific brand out on the trail, that doesn't mean that that pack is necessarily the best pack for you. Which brings me to my next point. Make sure you have an opportunity to try one of these packs before committing to a multi-day trip. Now, if you're purchasing your bag from a big retailer like REI, then trying your pack out on a long day hike before your trip is going to be a lot easier thanks to their generous return policy. But if you're buying a lightweight or ultralight bag from a cottage brand like these two, their return policies clearly state that these packs must be returned in pristine condition, essentially without any signs that they were used. And that's so that they can turn around and sell that pack again. And that makes sense because these small companies operate on pretty thin margins. So to comply with those return policies, I tried each of these packs in a sterile environment, my home. I packed each of these packs with the gear I expect to bring with me on my PCT hike, including my bear canister, and wore them around in my home for a couple of hours each. And while that isn't as ideal as getting to test out each of these bags on a shakedown multi-day hike or long day hike, I can tell you that by the end of that day, I had a very clear idea which of these bags was going to work for me and which of the ones I was going to return. All right, enough chit chat. Let's get into talking about these packs. First up, this is the Osprey Eja 58. I first purchased this pack 2 years ago. It's the first backpacking pack I ever bought myself, and I got it for a steal of a sale at REI. Osprey also makes a men's version of this pack, which is called the Exos. It's slightly larger and I think has a slightly more elongated torso. This pack weighs 2 pounds, 11 ounces, or about 43 ounces total. This is a size small and it has a 55-liter carrying capacity according to the website. Now, this is an older model of the same pack, and the newer model has a couple of differences that I'll go over, and it's currently retailing for $260. This pack is available at larger retailers like REI, so it's a great opportunity to use your dividends or wait for their Labor Day and Memorial Day sales. The pros of this pack is that it's extremely lightweight for what is essentially a traditional backpacking pack. A similar pack, the Gregory Deva, which is a 60-liter, very comparable backpacking pack, weighs over 4 pounds, while this comes in at 2 pounds and 11 ounces. What's unique about this pack is Osprey's airspeed suspension system, meaning that the actual pack never sits directly on your back. There's this sort of very stiff meshing that creates a gap between your back and the pack. And the point of this is to allow air to naturally pass through between your back and the pack so you don't end up with a super sweaty, super sticky back. There is an obscene amount of organization on this pack. Obviously, you can tell that there's a large mesh front pocket as well as mesh side pockets. You also have this large top or brain on the top of the pack. You can fit a good amount of items in this top portion of the pack. On the inside of the topper, also have this second internal pocket with a little mesh lining. There's also a full-size sleeve for a large water bladder inside the pack, as well as a port for your hydration tube. What's weird about this model is that there aren't any hip belt pockets. It's just a straight padded hip belt. But the newest version of this pack does have large hip belt pockets on both sides. One final pro of this pack is that it carries heavy loads like exceptionally well. I carried this pack on over 100 miles, including a thru hike of the Trans-Catalina Trail, and that's back when I was not carrying ultralight gear, so I had a base weight of anywhere between 15 and 20 pounds with this pack. And this pack did magnificently under those conditions and really allowed me to carry some pretty heavy equipment when I was first starting out backpacking without a ton of unnecessary wear and tear on my body. One of the cons of this pack is that compared with other similarly priced ultralight backpacking packs, this pack is quite a bit heavier. This is 7 ounces heavier than the ULA Circuit SV that I'm going to talk about in a second, and a whopping 14 ounces, basically almost a pound heavier than the Durston Kakwa. Another con is that while this is intended to be made specifically for women's measurements, it only comes in 2 sizes, either an XS or a medium large. So you're not going to get as customized of a fit as you would in some of the other options. The robust frame and suspension system in this pack also tends to make it a little bit bulky. And because this pack is wider at the bottom than it is at the top, I often felt like I was waddling when I was walking with this pack, which isn't a huge deal, but I did decide over time that I wanted to go for a pack that was a little more streamlined for my thru hike. The Osprey Eja 58 might be a great pick for you if you're new to backpacking or looking to transition between a traditional heavy backpacking pack and something a little bit more lightweight, but you don't want to commit to full ultralight. It's a good pack if your base weight is between 15 and 20 pounds. If you value organization, this pack is going to be a great option for you. Or if you want to purchase a pack from a major retailer that has a generous return policy like REI. Ultimately, I decided not to go with the Osprey Eja for my upcoming thru hike. I absolutely stand by this pack. I will continue to use it in the future, especially for shorter trips where I'm not as focused on being ultra light, but want to indulge in a few more luxurious items to have around camp. Next up, this is the ULA Circuit SV. The ULA Circuit packs are probably one of the most popular and common packs you'll find on long-distance hiking trails like the Appalachian Trail or the PCT. The original Circuit weighs 38.5 ounces, has a 68-liter carrying capacity, and retails for $299. The Circuit Small Volume, or Circuit SV, which is what I have here, weighs 37.5 ounces, has a 48-liter carrying capacity, and retails for the same $299. The first thing I want to stress about this pack, and it's hard for it to come across on video, is how durable and well-made this pack feels. It feels like you could get multiple thru hikes out of a pack like this, and it's not hard to see why this is an extremely popular pack out on the trails. Some more pros of this pack is that the front pocket is incredibly deep. You can fit a whole bunch of stuff in here. It also has this cord material so you can hang and lattice different items on the front of the pack. This SV size is a very reasonable 48 liters, but the standard Circuit is a whopping 68 liters without much of a weight penalty, meaning that you can carry a lot in that pack. This pack has a roll top closure system and actually snaps to 2 different buckles on the sides, which you can compress down, making this like a very sleek and streamlined looking pack. Of all the packs I looked at, ULA offers the most customization options that come standard when you purchase one of their packs. You can choose between S straps or J straps from your pack. You can choose to add a Y strap or straps to the bottom of the pack for additional carrying capacity. And perhaps what's most important is that there are 18 possible different size configurations to make sure that you have a pack that perfectly matches your dimensions. There are some cons to the Circuit, particularly the Circuit SV when it comes to weight and size. The SV is quite a bit heavier than comparably sized packs. Compare that to the Durston Kakwa, which has a 55-liter carrying capacity and weighs 30 ounces, or the Hyperlight Mountain Gear Southwest 55, which comes in at 33 ounces. And I'm picking nits here, but I found it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to access my water bottle from the side pocket while wearing the pack, which means I would have to actually remove the pack to access my water bottle every time I wanted to take a drink, which just means I would end up extremely dehydrated because I'm not gonna do that. And finally, the ULA Circuit didn't carry heavy loads quite as well as the other two packs that I'm talking about today, especially when I loaded this pack up with my bear canister and other heavy items that I would need to bring in the Sierra. I could definitely feel the weight of my gear more in this pack than any of the others. The ULA Circuit might be for you if you're looking for a pack that would do just as well on a multi-thousand-mile thru hike as it would for a weekend camping trip. Think of the ULA Circuit as the Subaru of backpacking packs. She's not the cheapest or the flashiest thing on the market, but she's dependable, and this girl is gonna get you where you need to go. If your gear is a mix of traditional and lightweight backpacking gear and you need volume but don't want to commit to a super heavy pack, then the ULA Circuit, particularly the original ULA 68-liter Circuit, is a great pick. Before I did my at-home experiment, I really thought this is the pack I was going to be taking with me on the Pacific Crest Trail. It's a reasonable weight, it's got everything I want and nothing I don't, and although it's expensive, you still feel like you're getting a really good value for the price. So the only reason I didn't end up going with the Circuit is because I ended up testing out and trying one more pack that I just fell in love with, and that is the Durston Kakwa 55. I almost didn't want to like this pack on like the principle of the thing. Durston packs and Durston tents, which, spoiler, I also bought one of their tents, yes, it's amazing, have gained kind of a cult following online over the past couple of years. This pack is the lightest of any of the packs I looked at. It also costs $260, which is tied for the lowest price with the Osprey Eja. And the size medium also has a very impressive 61-liter carrying capacity. Honestly, I assumed that when I got this pack and actually tried it on in person, that it was going to be totally overhyped and I wouldn't be that impressed, and me and my ULA Circuit could go on our merry way into the sunset. But of course, that's not what happened. Here are the specs for a Durston Kakwa in the size medium. The pack weighs 30 ounces. This size has a 61-liter carrying capacity, and it retails for $260. Let's start with the cons this time. So the pack only comes in one color, gray. Hope you like gray. And the pack comes in 3 standard sizes, small, medium, and large. And unlike the ULA Circuit, there's no option to customize the pack based on your specific hip belt size. It has the same roll top closure, but it actually just clips at the top and doesn't cinch down on the sides. And if you can't tell, it actually has a very tall frame inside. So if you are quite short or have a very small torso, this pack just might not work for you. The pros of this pack are obvious. It's by far the lightest pack that I looked at, weighing in at a very respectable 30 ounces. Again, it's tied with the Osprey Eja for price, coming in at $260, and every single item on this pack serves a purpose. There are also an egregious amount of pockets on this bag. I mean, starting off obvious, you have this very large mesh front bag, which is gonna be perfect for your rain gear, your camp shoes, and other items that you wanna quickly access. There are 2 side pockets. You have this deep pocket over here, which has a side strap, meaning you can attach your trekking poles or your ice axe into the pocket here. And on the right side of the pack is this angled pocket, which means, yes, you can reach behind you and grab your water bottle from the pocket without having to remove the pack. Hallelujah. But that might not even be necessary because there are 2 mesh front pockets on this pack. This is the only pack I've ever seen that comes standard with. They have drawstring closures and they're perfect for putting your phone, an extra pair of sunglasses, your Garmin InReach, and they also hold one of these smaller 700 milliliter smart water bottles very nicely. But what truly sold me on this pack is that this thing is freaking comfortable. I cannot stress how comfortable it is to wear this pack. I stuffed this thing full with my heaviest gear, including this Bear Vault 500, and it felt like I was carrying half that weight around. When I put that same gear into the ULA Circuit, it felt so much heavier than it did on this pack. And that's not really throwing shade at the Circuit. It's just that the way that the suspension system and frame was so thoughtfully designed in this pack, and what I assume was a healthy dose of like dark voodoo magic, it makes the Durston Kakwa an extremely comfortable pack to carry, and ultimately ended up being a no-brainer that this is the pack I would bring with me on the Pacific Crest Trail this spring. The Durston Kakwa 55 might be for you if you're rocking a sub 15-pound base weight. Again, keep in mind there are only 3 sizing options to this pack, so if you need something that's going to require a bit more customization, you may have to look elsewhere. But for me and my body type, the fit of this pack ended up being exceptional. I'm wearing a medium. It fits all of my gear, including my Sierra gear and Bear canister, with tons of room to spare. Before we go, I do want to give some honorable mentions to 2 packs I did research and consider that didn't work for me, but might be good fits for you. The first is the Gossamer Gear Mariposa 60 pack. This is another extremely popular pack out on the trails. The reasons I didn't select it is that it comes in at a hefty $315 price tag. It is slightly on the heavier side. Their medium size comes in at 34.2 ounces. And I've had friends that have carried the Mariposa before, and they did report having some problems with the straps on their pack breaking in the middle of their thru hike. Gossamer Gear has addressed this issue, and they say that their newest iterations of these packs will not have the same sort of defect, but I can't personally speak to that. And finally, and perhaps most stupidly, I don't care for the look of this pack personally, and I think that if you're going to be committing to a piece of gear that you're going to be wearing for over 2,000 miles, then you gotta like what you're wearing. Lastly, I did want to give a mention to the OG of ultralight backpacking packs, the Hyperlight Mountain Gear Southwest 55. I didn't choose this pack for a couple of reasons. One, the price. She comes in at a whopping $379 retail. And again, the weight was pretty comparable to some of the other packs that had a much lower price point. The size medium for the Southwest comes in at around 33 ounces. There are also no load lifter straps on the Southwest pack, and those are important for sort of fine-tuning the weight distribution of your pack system. I find that really important when the weight of your pack is fluctuating wildly throughout the course of your hike. For example, when you have long food carries or long water carries in the desert. A point in favor of the Hyperlight Mountain Gear pack, though, is it is available for purchase at REI, which means you can use your member discounts, your dividends, as well as taking it out for a test drive with their generous return policy. If you found this video helpful, and I hope you did, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to check back regularly for updates on my upcoming thru hike of the Pacific Crest Trail. I'll be posting daily hiking vlogs here on Shorts and across my social media channels, as well as longer weekly videos here on YouTube. In the meantime, I'm Brooke in Boots, and I will see you out on the trails. Bye.